The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's role play session with your host, James McDonald.
Well, thank you very much, Andrea. I'd like to start by welcoming our participants to our role play session here today. Appreciate all of you coming on here and taking the time to participate. We are going to take as many volunteers for role playing, but I also want to let you know that any of your follow-up related questions is fair game as well. So make sure that you voice into the chat any questions that you have, as long as it revolves around lead conversion, particularly the universal callback script. This is definitely the forum to talk about that. Now, before I get started, a couple things. I had a couple emails, and I thought, hey, I want to address the emails with everybody here on the role play session. The first one, and I know that over time we talk about these things, but it's always good to hear it again. And maybe for some of you, you're hearing it for the very first time. But this particular question was in regards to reaching prospects. And I got to tell you that this is not something new. The challenge with someone answering the phone has always existed in our world. I mean, I'm sure there was a time decades ago when people answered the phone when it rang. But, certainly in the last couple of decades, that hasn't been the case. People will screen their calls. Since, the invention of the answering machine, and then call display, all of these things, make it less and less likely that somebody actually answers the phone when it rings. So we're aware of that, and we always have been, so this is nothing new. But there are some things that we can do that if we track, you'll find that you'll up the odds of the prospect actually picking up the phone and answering the call. Like, for example, number one is the number that you're calling from. And of course, we've talked about this, but it makes such a huge difference is that if you're calling a prospect and it's a local phone number, the prospect is far more likely to answer a call from a local telephone number than they are from a 1-800 number or a blocked number or a private number or a company name. If it's anything that looks like it's not a personal call, then they're far more likely to let it go to voicemail. So, making a call that comes from your cell phone or a local phone number is the best case scenario. And even if it's your personal name, that's really good as well. See, you got to look at this from the point of view of the prospect, is that if I get a phone call and I look at my phone and it says R. Smith and a local telephone number, here's what I'm not thinking. Oh, this is a telemarketer. Oh, this is a solicitation. Now remember, the reason that people aren't or reluctant to answer the phone is because they don't want to take phone calls from, solicitations. I get that. They don't want to be harassed. So if they feel like a phone call is someone they don't know, then they feel like that person is probably calling to harass them. So guess what? I'll let it go to voicemail. If, on the other hand, it looks like a personal call, far more likely to answer the phone. Now, let me give you a parallel to this. When you send out mail and the mail looks like solicitation, it comes in an envelope with your logo on it, and it's got pictures of illustrated homes on it, compared to a plain white number 10 envelope handwritten with a live stamp. Now the question is, which one gets opened and why? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's not an even close test. The number 10 envelope with the handwritten and live stamp is going to get opened 10-1 more than the solicitation. It just is. Now, why is that? It's because it looks personal. It's not a solicitation. Well, let's think of our phone calls in that way as well. When someone is looking down at their phone, and no doubt they're giving their cell phone number, but it really doesn't matter because even their home phone has call display, to a large degree, the deciding factor as to whether I'm going to take that call is, what does it say on that little screen there? Who is this? Is it a clear solicitation, a block number, an out-of-state number? What does it say there? Is it a company name? All of those things cause the prospect to say, nope, let it go to voicemail. That's that. But there's a far greater chance of them answering if it's a local number that looks like a personal call. Does that mean they'll answer the phone? No, but it does up the odds. Now, here's another little thing we can do. When you get a voicemail, so you've called and they didn't answer and you get voicemail, here's what you want to test. Hang up, go on to the next prospect and call them. When you're finished calling that prospect, go back to the one before and call it again. So how much time has elapsed? I don't know, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the most? That's how much time. So you call them back again. And again, don't leave a voicemail. I'll tell you what. We talk about, oh, what voicemail can you leave that causes them to call you back? We tested this, and remarkably what we found was when you call the prospect back without leaving a voicemail, you get, not only is it more likely that they answer the phone, but watch this, it's more likely they call you back because you didn't leave a message than if you did leave a message. That's insane, but that's what we found. So in other words, it's a local phone number, so it looks like it's a personal call, and you didn't leave a message, and of course that's what they were dying to know is who is this? Like who is this person calling me? And because you didn't leave a voicemail, the reason they called you back is because you didn't leave a voicemail, and they wanted to know who it was. Is this a friend that I missed? Is this somebody that I've been trying to get a hold of? Right? So, so anyway, these are some of the things that you can test. But even in the best case scenario, if you reach 75% of the leads that you generate, not on the first attempt, but I mean, ultimately, if you reach 75% of them, you're doing about as well as you're going to do in reaching prospects. You're never going to reach 100% of them. You'll never reach 90% of them. That's just the nature of lead generation. However, there are some where if all you do is when you generate the leads, you pick up the phone in your office and call them, you might reach 10%. That means the opportunity to double, triple, quadruple your business isn't in generating more leads or being better at lead conversion. All it is how do I get more prospects to answer the phone? So this is a big, big part of this, and I would really entertain hearing what some of you are doing successfully and not so successfully in reaching your prospects. Okay, so that was number one. Now, the other email that I wanted to address here before we started taking volunteers to do some role-playing, etc., was I had a question in regards to an objection that was happening over and over again that says, can I call you back? The prospect is saying, you know what, it's a bad time, can I call you back? Okay, now, first of all, what's critical about the question is when in the conversation is that objection being raised? In other words, if the objection is being raised at the very beginning, then I'll tell you the cause is the introduction. If I say, hi, it's James with Craig Proctor's office, the reason I'm calling is this, I've sent the information, is that okay? You know what, can you call me back? I'm really busy, and again and again and again. I'll tell you right now, whatever you're saying in the introduction is causing the prospect to say this. It's causing the prospect to think of you as a pest, as a telemarketer, and they're getting rid of the telemarketer. On the other hand, if this objection is being raised at the end when you're making the offer or the offer to meet with them, then the problem lies in your offer, all right? But let's first break this down the way we sort of analyze any challenge like this. If something happens once in a while, that's okay. It's perfectly okay. That's going to happen. Every once in a while, sporadically, you're going to get odd objections that come up. That's called normal, and that's okay. However, if it's happening all the time, we call that the rule. If it's the rule, it's something that you're doing wrong, and you're doing it over and over and over again, and that's why it's happening over and over and over again. If it's happening once in a while sporadically, that's okay. We let that go. We're going to base what we do on the rule as opposed to the exception to the rule. So that makes perfect sense to everybody, I'm sure. So once we've established that this is the exception to the rule, then what we want to look at is, once we've established that this is the rule, this is happening over and over again, we want to fix it. So if this is happening in the introduction, then it means very clearly that the prospect doesn't understand why you're calling them, and you're not eliciting a reaction of appreciation. That's all that's happening. They don't appreciate you calling them. And if they don't appreciate you calling them, it means they don't appreciate you calling them. And we will try to get rid of you. That's what we do as consumers. So here's what is critical. When you pick up the phone and the prospect answers, you must elicit a reaction of appreciation from them. You've got to get them to, at very least, if not say thank you, think thank you. Because if they don't appreciate your phone call, then the rest of the call is not going to go very well. All right, so that's number one, introduction, must elicit a reaction of appreciation. Now, if it's your offer, what I would suggest is that if the prospect is constantly brushing you off for the offer, then it either means that your offer isn't articulated clearly enough, or that they feel the threat of cost and obligation. In other words, you're not doing a good enough job of making them clearly understand that there's all benefit and no downside. Okay, it's nothing but benefit. There is no cost to this whatsoever. There is no obligation whatsoever, and you're flexible, right? To do a good job for you, when would be a convenient time for you to meet? Days, evenings, or weekends. Don't bring your wallet or checkbook. There is no cost to this, nor is there an obligation to do anything you don't want to do. If they don't understand that, though, you'll be met with opposition. And that's simple. You're a salesperson. They're a consumer. The job of the consumer is to distance themselves from the salesperson. That's what we do when we're the consumer. That's what they do when they're the consumer. So we need to understand this and make sure that our script and what we're saying to them is clear enough. All right. So having said that, Andrea, why don't we do this? Let's take some questions. First of all, in regards to either anything that we've talked about here or anything that any of our members would like to discuss, or of course, we can do some role playing.
Okay, as of yet, we have no questions. Everyone just wants to role play with you today. So we'll start with that. If you do have a question or a comment, just type it in the chat box. We have John Brackett. Your mic is now open.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, Mr. Brackett.
Hey, how's it going? My question was this. I actually did have a question, but it pertains to transitioning an appointment for another team member. So that might be early on in the session, but
what do you mean by that? Oh, in other words, so I'm booking an appointment, but the appointment isn't for me to go on. It's for, say, Craig.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here's what I need you to understand, first of all. Virtually 100% of the appointments that I set were appointments that I didn't go on myself. Well, I shouldn't say 100%, but basically, for all intents and purposes, 100% of the appointments that I booked were for others to go on. And you know what? All I discovered was this. Use the language, the word we. Everything is we. I never say me. I never say Craig. I always say we and us, because it's the Craig Proctor team. So, hi, it's James McDonald calling with the Craig Proctor team at RE/MAX Omega Realty. And the reason I'm calling is because we received your request for information regarding a home value report. And I just wanted to give you a very quick courtesy call, John, and let you know that I did send that to you. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so the language that I'm using isn't me. It isn't any particular person. It's us. Okay, so now we get to the appointment. And I'm booking the appointment. What I'll say is, first of all, we're establishing the offer. And the offer has nothing to do with a person. It says, basically, if we can take a look at your property, we can be much more accurate in determining the likely value of your home. But more importantly, we'll be able to point out some inexpensive tips, some things to do and not do to further increase the value of your property and better prepare it for sale. Also, John, we can go over a net sheet so you'll know exactly what you'll have left in your pocket once all the various closing costs are incurred. It's absolutely free. There's no obligation whatsoever. And we're flexible, John. What would be a good time for you? Days, evenings, weekends? What would work best?
Got it.
Okay, now, and then when you do, we'll book the appointment, and I will say, one of our we'll call and confirm, or we'll email and confirm which of our team members is going to be coming to your appointment. Unless I know for sure it's going to be Craig, then of course I would say Craig, and they would love that. But here's my point. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. In other words, people don't shop for salespeople. They shop for information. So the prospect is not booking the appointment because of the salesperson. They're booking the appointment because of the information. So who it is that provides that information is far less relevant than we would like to believe.
So just really quickly, James, are you saying then that you call them to confirm who's going to be there prior to them showing up?
If I didn't know who it was going to be, then I would feel, or if I said, well, yes, Craig will be there, at such and such time, and then I discovered, that he changed his day timer around and it wasn't going to be Craig. Well, I'd feel bad about that. I'd feel like I lied to them. So that's not cool. So it means nothing to pick up the phone and say, hey, look, Frank Paulsonelli is going to be coming tomorrow. He's our residential specialist in your neighborhood on the Craig Proctor team at 7 o'clock.
Got it.
However, really, 9 times out of 10, there was no need for that because I would either know it wasn't going to be Craig, therefore I wouldn't say it, or I knew it was going to be Craig, and I would say it's going to be Craig. Right? So in other words, 9 out of 10 times I was right. I already knew, so it was a non-factor. And on the off occasion where it needed to be changed or I was wrong, a quick phone call or an email solved that, and there was really no problem. So I guess, make a long story short, this is an absolute non-factor. Yes, you can do this. It is the information that the prospect wants, not the person, not the salesperson.
Got it.
Right?
Okay, perfect.
At least for the appointment. All right, for the appointment. So, thanks, John. Great question.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, a few questions popped in during that conversation, so I'm going to go ahead and go to some of those. Omar typed in, when a lead comes and all the questions are already answered, how do you approach the follow-up? Goes on to say, do you just verify that they are moving in 0 to 3 months, they don't have an agent, or should you ask them again and try to set the appointment?
I'm a little confused by the question. So in other words, if you've asked the qualifying questions and you haven't really determined timing or motivation, is that what I'm understanding here, Andrea?
What I'm reading is as to be, I believe on some of our landing pages, some of these questions are already asked after they submitted their information. There's like a step 2. So when Omar receives the lead, it tells him all this information already.
Yeah, but again, that's the purpose of the phone call, though, right? I mean, pretend you don't have any of that, which I would prefer you didn't. I guess any information is better, but it's irrelevant. I mean, the purpose of the phone call is to determine timing and motivation. So when you get them on the phone, you're going to discover, their reason for wanting to move, their timing, if they are going to make a move. It's all going to be discovered through good old conversation. As Lester Cox likes to say, still the #1 sales tool in the world, the telephone. Having a conversation with the prospect on the phone is going to determine that. And what information or they do or do not leave on the website. You know what? Here's all we want on the website. Give us your name and phone number. That's all we need. Just give us your name and phone number. That's it. If you give us your name and phone number, it means there's a level of motivation there because you wouldn't have given that if there wasn't a level of motivation. If you have no interest in buying or selling, you would never leave your name and phone number. So that's #1. That's all I need. With a name and phone number, now I can call you, and now I can have a conversation with you, and I can determine timing and motivation. I don't need to base your moving plans on what you filled out on the website. It might be helpful, but all it does is supplement the phone call.
Okay, our next question comes from Jeff. He says, for bold leads, do you recommend using Lester's method and leave a voicemail? Based on what you've said about leaving voicemail, I'm unsure what to do.
What I'm going to suggest you do is test, okay? So it's not like you don't have lots of different things to test. You can, if you test something though, you've got to track it. There is no point in testing anything if you don't track it. I don't want you to test it and say, yeah, I got a feeling about this. No feelings necessary. We're going to use a number in a box. You're going to leave 20 voicemails or 10 voicemails, and you're going to very carefully track the results of those 10 or 20 voicemails. Then you're going to take a completely different approach, and you're going to take 10 or 20 other random leads that are the same. Like, in other words, they come from the same source. But with them, you're going to do something different. You're not going to leave a voicemail. Instead, with them, you're going to call them. When you get voicemail, you're going to hang up. And then a minute or two later or 5 minutes later, you're going to call them right back again. And you're going to track how many of them answer the phone. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to determine a winner, a winning formula. And when you do, and maybe then another option comes up, well, then you can test that. But, you know, here's the best approach. It's diligence. In other words, the more willing you are to call back your prospects, the more likely it is you'll reach them on the phone. And I mean, that's just the long and short of it. Now, here's what that also means. The more leads you generate, the fewer times you can attempt to reach them. So the fewer leads you generate, the more times you can attempt to reach them. And the more leads you generate, the fewer times, because you're overwhelmed with leads. So you just can't call them back 10 times each. You won't be able to do that. But on the bright side, if you have plenty of leads, then you can focus on the easy ones. Who are the easy ones? The ones that answer the phone when you call. Those are the easy ones. Well, I'll stick with them. If every day you generated 5 leads, and of those 5 leads, one of them answered the phone every time you called on the first attempt. Okay, that means every year we have 365 prospects we're going to put them in category 1, the easiest ones. They answer the phone right away. Okay, now category 2 require 2 to 3 phone calls before they answer the phone. So that is the other 1 out of 5 that takes, you know, maybe 2 phone calls or 3 phone calls before we get them on the phone. And then all the rest either will never ever answer the phone, or it takes us multiple attempts. So far, what we're talking about then is we have over 700 prospects a year that we're reaching every day by making less than, in total every single day, we're making less than 3 phone calls a day, every day, 365 days a year. But in return for our 3 phone calls a day, we are reaching and having conversations with over 700 prospects a year. Now, if we even converted 1 in 10 of those conversations, that would be, you know, obviously that would be 70, more than 70 a year. So you can see here how we're building this in to the numbers that we're generating. It's built in. You need to know your numbers. And by the way, that's something that you'll find with all of our top students, all of our platinum students and our real top echelon students. You'll find they really know their numbers. And I'm just talking about numbers of how many sales did you do. I'm talking about real numbers like that, where we can really dig into the numbers. The better you know your numbers, the better you're able to fix what is broken, because you know what's working and what isn't working. Whereas if you don't know your numbers, you're constantly fixing what isn't broken and bypassing what is. So that's really valuable to know. How many attempts does it take you to reach a prospect? How many prospects do you generate? As expressed as a percentage, how many of them require less than 3 phone calls before you reach them? These are all really good things to know. Okay, great question.
Okay, we'll go into a role play with Ernest Van Glan. Your line is now open.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, Ernie. How are you today?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Excellent, excellent.
I would like you to be a buyer that reached out to me on my Facebook ad for move-up properties.
Perfect. All right, so ring, ring. Hello.
Hello, is James there, please?
This is James.
James, how you doing? This is Ernie Van Glan from Exit Prime Realty. And the reason for my call, I received a notification from my website that you requested to look at move-up properties in the Land O'Lakes area. And I just want to let you know that you have full access to that website now. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you. I was actually on there last night. Appreciate that.
No problem. And are you folks looking to make a move in the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, we're hoping to. We're looking for something, you know, something bigger, obviously, but we want to find the right place first. So, you know, 3 to 6 months probably would be about right. But we haven't found anything yet, so there is no hurry. I mean, we're not desperate. Put it that way.
Okay, and you do own your own home, correct?
We do.
Okay. Would you prefer to buy before listing that current home, or would you rather sell first?
You know what? Our home is going to sell. We're not too worried about that. I mean, we want to maximize our dollars from it, as you would imagine,
Okay.
but we're not worried about it selling. It's going to sell. So here's our deal. When we find what we're looking for, if we find what we're looking for, we'll do something. If we don't, we won't.
Okay. And are you planning on staying in the Tampa Bay area or moving outside of this area?
Yeah, we're looking in Land O'Lakes.
Okay. And if you were to move and you found that ideal home, when do you think that might be?
Well, as I said, within the next, in the next few months, I guess. By the end of the year, certainly we'd like to think that we've found something.
Okay. And do you have a realtor to help you with that if the time is right?
We've met a couple realtors. We've met a couple realtors at open houses and stuff like that, so we've got plenty of help. But nothing serious.
Okay. Would you like me to email you daily updates of homes that come on the market matching your home buying criteria? These will be from all the real estate companies, and my list includes bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, distressed sales, and other types of properties that are not found on MLS. It is a free service, and of course, you're never obligated to buy a home. Would that interest you?
Yeah, so these are different than the properties that I'm looking at here on the website?
We do have pocket listings and even some buyer closeouts that would not be on the MLS. That would be included in the list of properties you would get. Would that interest you? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
When can we get together for about 20 minutes so I can take down exactly what you're looking for? Would days or evenings work better for you?
You know what? I'm a pretty busy guy. Ernie, you know what? If you could just send me the properties, that'd be great. You know what we're looking for. I put it all into the website there. So yeah, we don't have that kind of time to meet with a realtor right now.
Well, James, I would like to do a really good job for you. So instead of sending you dozens, maybe even hundreds of homes that you're really not interested in or looking for, we could sit down for 20 minutes. I have a form that I fill out, take down your exact buying criteria. It actually has about 100 captions on it, so I know exactly what you're looking for, so I can customize your search and find that perfect home for you. What works better for you, days, evenings, or afternoons?
You know what? Let me talk to my wife. Probably afternoons, I would think. But let me talk to her, and I'll get back to you.
Hey, while I have you on the phone, can we book a tentative appointment for afternoon, Thursday afternoon, about 2 o'clock? And if that does not work for you or your wife, just let me know. We can reschedule it for a more convenient time for both of you.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so a couple things here while I have it fresh in my mind. First of all, I was a pretty good prospect, right?
Yes.
Like I am a pretty good prospect in terms of my motivation.
Correct.
Now, and this is not untypical, right? That a prospect is pretty good in their motivation and what they're looking for, but where the rubber hits the road is when you make me the offer, right?
Right.
And this is why I want everybody to become masters with the script in understanding that when the prospect raises an objection, we've got to be able to elaborate on the offer so that the prospect more thoroughly understands it. And the best way to do it is by pointing out the flaws in what they're doing right now. So let me give you an example, okay? I would say to Ernie, I'd say, hey, Ernie, the biggest challenge that you have right now is that you're looking at properties that have already been overlooked by the other buyers. And what I'm proposing to do is I'm proposing to send you the very best deals before the other buyers in the marketplace see these homes for sale. Otherwise, you're always going to miss out on the great deals as soon as they come on the market, and all you're ever looking at are the properties that have already been on the market and have already been overlooked by the other buyers. So you're giving yourself a handicap. Do you understand the difference here?
Yes.
Right? Like that would be a reasonable conversation. Now, I'm not saying you'd use that as part of your script, but if the prospect brings up the objection, we need to be able to explain to them if they don't quite understand it, and we do, then we need to explain, here's what you're doing now, and here's the flaw with what you're doing now. So instead, Ernie, I want you to picture this. When you wake up every morning, any properties from the night before that are available for sale, I don't care if that's on the MLS, I don't care if it's a private listing, if it's a for sale by owner, if it's a company owned, a distress sale, a bank foreclosure, if there is a property that matches what you and your family are looking for and it comes on the market, you're going to see it in your email inbox that morning before the other buyers do. If you don't want it, don't do anything. But if it really piques your interest, you have a head start on that property. There's a far greater chance of you getting it. Now, the problem is, right now, Ernie, you're not seeing those properties. So you certainly wouldn't reconsider a brief 15-minute appointment so I can take down accurately what you're looking for and we can do a great job for you and get you started. Don't bring your wallet or checkbook. There's no obligation. I'm flexible. What would be good for you, Ernie? Something today or tomorrow, something in the evenings?
Tomorrow, early afternoon.
Okay, see, book, boom. Now, here's something else I want you to, language I want you to use. I want you to use the word reconsider. Okay, so in other words, when the prospect objects and you handle the objection, words you want to use are, you've handled the objection. You've said, well, look, I want to do a good job for you. It's important that I do a good job for you. And what I find is if we can sit down together, I can be assured I know exactly what you're looking for accurately so we don't make a mistake and we don't waste your time. Are you sure you wouldn't reconsider, or would you reconsider a brief appointment at your convenience, Ernie? I'm flexible, days, evenings, weekends, what would be best?
Right.
Okay, that's really good language. Here's why, because it's reasonable. When you use the words, would you reconsider, it's reasonable. And that's all we're doing is we're beating the prospect over the head with a logic hammer, and we're being extremely reasonable. So I want you to become really, really good with that. Now, I was a pretty tough prospect, not because of my motivation, but just because I didn't understand the benefit of what you were offering me compared to what I was already doing.
Right.
See the difference?
Yes.
Good stuff. Thanks for volunteering, Ernie. I hope you found that helpful.
I did. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next guest is Philip Doyen. Your mic is now open.
Hey, James, can you hear me?
Hey, I certainly can. How you doing?
I'm doing great. James, I'm rolling out an HDX site in beginning of August, so I'd like to role play some people who have accessed my website to search for properties.
Okay, so ring, hello?
Hello, may I speak with James, please?
Yep, this is James. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Philippe with Group Mackay. James, the reason I'm calling is because I received your request to search properties on my website. Just wanted to give you a quick courtesy call to tell you that you have full access right now, so you can search away. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
James, were you planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months?
I don't think so.
Do you currently rent, James, or do you own your own home?
Yeah, we're renting right now.
And are you planning to stay in the area, or are you moving out of Montreal?
No, we're staying in Montreal.
And if you were to move, James, when do you think that might be?
I don't know. If we were to do it, maybe sometime in the fall.
Okay, and do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right?
No, not really.
James, would you like me to email you daily updates of the home that match your home buying criteria from all the real estate companies? My list includes any bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, and other distressed sales. It's a free service, and of course, you're never obligated to buy a home. Do you think that might interest you?
Yeah, sure. That'd be great.
Okay, James, when do you think we could meet for about 20 minutes so I could take down exactly what you're looking for? Would days or evenings work better for you?
You know what? I'm shopping on price, so can you just send me everything in my price range?
I could do that, James, but instead of sending you tens of properties or even hundreds that might or might not match your home buying criteria, I really want to do a good job for you. So if I could take down exactly what you're looking for, I could send you everything that you're looking for in your specific price range. Like I said, it's only going to take 20 minutes. It's a free service, and you're never obligated to buy. That would probably be helpful. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. How about probably evenings would be best.
Okay. What works best for you, tomorrow or tonight?
Tonight would be fine. Tonight's good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, around 7 or 8, what works best?
Probably 7. Yeah,
okay, I'll just take down your address. By the way, James, are you buying with a significant other, or are you buying alone?
No, my wife and I are buying together, but she's a nurse, so she won't be there.
Okay, so when do you think would be a good time for both of you to be there? Because I think her input is really important in that decision.
Yeah, well, I'll get all her input, but yeah, no, she's working nights for the next couple weeks. So if you want her to hold off a couple of weeks, that's fine. Then she'll be available. We can do that if you like.
Okay, is she working over the weekend?
Yes.
Okay, so days or evenings would be best for you because I guess you're not working over the weekend.
Right. Yeah, so tonight is fine at 7.
Okay then, so let me just write down your address and I'll be at your home at 7.
Cool. Okay, so here's what I'm basically saying. Hey, I'm going to give you the choice. You can either meet with just me tonight, or you can meet with me and my wife in 2 weeks. What would you prefer?
You and your wife in 2 weeks? I thought your wife would be there tonight.
I don't agree. Okay.
Okay.
You know, that appointment ain't happening in 2 weeks. No.
Okay.
You want that appointment right now. Listen, here's the thing, okay? If you come over and you do a really great job with the appointment and he signs your buyer contract, all right, or he comes into your office, if he signs your buyer contract, I mean, you're 90% there. You've got him under contract. What's the problem with that?
No problem at all.
No problem at all. There's no problem at all. All that's going to happen is you're going to book an appointment to go show them some property, and when you do that, you're going to get her, whenever that happens to be, you're going to get the wife to sign it as well. That's fine. But it's like a bird in the hand, right? A bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. I always wondered about that. It's such an odd expression, but it makes sense, right? It's like I'd rather have 1 in the hand. I've got it. This is my one. Or, well, there's 2 out there in the forest somewhere, but you got to get them both. So this is more of a sure thing. So I think that I wanted to throw that screw in there. Okay, now let me just ask you one thing, because I was thinking this the whole time. Philippe, when you're making your phone calls, are they primarily in French?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So when you're doing these in English, it's almost you're doing them with me. That's the practice in English you do, is when you're role playing with us.
Yeah, it's about probably 99% of my calls are in French.
Right. Okay. Well, I sure wish I paid attention in French class, because I would be able to do them in French with you. I'd love to be able to do that. I wish somebody had expressed to me strongly enough when I was taking French in school all those years how valuable a gift it would be to learn another language, but instead I was an idiot and didn't really pay much attention. So.
Well, maybe you should learn Spanish.
Yeah, no, maybe, but I'd honestly, I'd much rather learn French. So, anyway, great job. Thank you as always, Philippe. Much appreciated, and great job. Who's next, Andrea? Do we have any questions in our chat?
We do. We have some that came up. Larry typed in, follow up on meeting with only one spouse. Does that apply to listing appointments too?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, it could. Let me give you a scenario. Yeah, my husband is in Australia on business for the next month, and so I'm taking care of this. What are you going to say? Well, you're just a little lady. I got to wait till the king is home. I mean, yeah, there are scenarios where a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. There are scenarios. All we discovered is that if we can explore this a little bit, of course, the best case scenario and the most likely case scenario is that both decision makers will be present. And if we really think about this, 90% of the time, this is a non-issue because both the decision makers are present. Without us saying anything, they're present. They are there. When I book an appointment for 7 o'clock this evening, there is a 90% chance that both are going to be there. So this is only relevant in the 10% of instances where one might not be, and then in those instances, we can arrange a time where both are present. And then 1% of the time, maybe, there's a scenario where, you know what, booking the appointment with one is better than waiting for weeks and weeks for the other, because we know that, you know, time is not our friend. So that's my answer. Hope that helps.
Okay, Ken is asking, he says with local clients you would set up a meeting. However, how would you try to solidify an out-of-state buyer? He says we have a lot of out-of-state buyers that we would like to create a solid relationship.
Yeah, well, what I would do is I would send the out-of-town buyers, like when you call them, I would also send them a snapshot of some properties that are available in the marketplace that match what they're looking for. But what you really want to give them the understanding is that new properties are coming on the market every day. Some of them are the hard-to-find great deals. What you want to establish is, when are you coming here, right? Because what is available on the market today is irrelevant to you coming here. If I were to send you an email today and there was a property that was absolutely awesome that you loved, well, here's the problem. By the time you booked your plane ticket and you got here in a week or two, it's gone. So in other words, the properties that are on the market today are irrelevant to you. All I'm doing is giving you a snapshot of what's available. Here's how this works. When you are planning on coming to the marketplace, we will immediately put together a list of all of the properties, the great deals, and the properties on MLS that perfectly match what you and your family are looking for. And we will set up showings to look at the ones that really pique your interest. It's absolutely free. You're not obligated to buy any of them, but that way we can hit the ground running, and before you arrive here, I will be constantly sending you properties as they come on the market so that we can do a great job. Now remember, because they're not in your marketplace, they need you. I mean, it's not like there's somebody that lived there and they can just drive around at their convenience and look at properties. So they're not going anywhere. It's an out of area buyer is can be a really good loyal prospect. Or ultimately loyal client, because they're not in the marketplace with the risk of driving around calling other realtors off signs. You are the other agent. You are the only agent, right? So that's the way that you want to handle it. Now, some in our platinum level have figured out that on certain occasions they're able to give what is essentially a buyer presentation, either over the phone or over Skype, and it is a possibility. But honestly, 90% of the time, the best way to handle it is the question of motivation. When are you planning on coming here to look at property? Because I'll tell you what, you're not buying anything without coming here. 1 out of 1,000 might buy a property without coming to the marketplace, but 999 out of 1,000, they're going to come to the marketplace to look at properties that they're going to buy. So the question is, when is that? And if they say, well, when I see something I like, well, then it's too late. Because if something's on the market that you love and you say, I really like this property, okay, well, why don't we take a look at it? Are you available tonight? No, I have to book a flight and I have to come there, which is going to be in 2 weeks. Well, guess what property is not going to be available in 2 weeks? If it's a great deal, if it's a great property, it ain't going to be there in 2 weeks. So that's not how you're going to find your home. The way you're going to find it is by booking a trip to come here. When is that? And in the interim, we'll send you all of the properties as they come on the market so that when you get here, we can have showings set up. Prepare a list of all the properties that match your criteria and what you're looking for, and then we can go take a look at the ones that really pique your interest. And we can really maximize the time that you're spending here so that we look at the very, very best opportunities in the marketplace. And that's to their benefit. There's no cost. There's no obligation to buy anything. That's a great use of their time and yours. All right, good question. Who's next?
Okay, our next question comes from John. He is getting the objection of, will you reconsider? And he would like to know how you would handle that.
I'm a little confused by the question. I'm the one that said, would you reconsider? So how would I handle would you reconsider? I'm not sure I get it, Andrea.
Okay. John raised his hand. I'm going to open his line. Maybe he can give us some clarification. Hold on just 1 second. And he removed himself. John, click the hand icon again just so I know you would like to open your mic. In the meantime, we can go on.
All I'm saying with reconsider is if the prospect objects and you handle the objection, then you have to go back to, so having said that, can we book an appointment? Well, that's a little awkward, right? That's bad language, right? All I'm suggesting is what could we say? So the prospect says, well, I'm really busy. Like, I don't have 20 minutes because I'm really busy. So you say, well, listen, this is perfect for busy people. Rather than you spending hours and hours combing the internet, driving around to open houses, we spend 15, 20 minutes. I go over your criteria in detail one time, and I make sure that we're only sending you the best deals, the best properties that match only what you and your family are looking for in your email inbox every day. It's free. There's no obligation to buy anything. It'll save you hours of time throughout the process. Would you reconsider a brief 15-minute appointment at your convenience? I'm flexible. What's good for you? Days, evenings, weekends. That's way better language to use. It's just so it's sensible language. So it makes it easier for the prospect to say, yeah, okay, I don't know, how about Monday? Okay, go for it, Andrea. Sorry.
He has confirmed that it makes sense now. He says, thank you, James. We'll go on to Michaela. What do you do when people who hang up a couple of minutes into the follow-up that don't answer when you call them back? What do you do with those people?
Okay, so first thing, exception, rule. Is this the exception? One time, I called a prospect back, and the dog would absolutely not stop barking. Like, it sounded like the dog was on the phone. But I'm not going to suggest that there's something that I should do about that because it has never happened since. So it's the exception. Do not adjust anything because of the exception. Adjust only because of the rule. If prospects are always hanging up on you and then never answering the phone, it's you. On the other hand, if on very rare occasions the prospect hangs up, then, it's like your phone call is a filter. They've filtered themselves out. I'll tell you right now, they are not the client you're looking for. So that's cool. But again, base it on the exception versus the rule. If it happens all the time, it's you and we need to fix something. If it happens very seldom, it's a very rare occurrence, then we don't fix anything. That's fine. Good question. All right, Andrea, let's take another one.
Okay, Ken, he asked the question earlier and it looks like he's looking for a little confirmation. Would you push the client to sign a buyer rep agreement? And this was referring to the out of town.
No, I wouldn't. I would test doing it this way first. Having them once they come to the marketplace. So in other words, you have their flight information. They are coming next Friday. Well, you're going to set up an appointment for next Friday. Like, you're the first person that they're meeting with next Friday. Their purpose of coming is to look at property. So you're the first stop. Now, what the first thing you're going to do when you meet with them, before you set up showings or before you pick properties that you're going to go take a look at, is you're going to go through your buyer presentation and they're going to sign your buyer contract. Because if they don't, you ain't showing them homes that weekend. We do not work without a contract. We're in a contract business, just like an attorney. They would never represent a client without a contract. We are the same. It says, at no point in time are you ever obligated to buy anything, and at no point in time will you ever pay me a nickel. Whether you buy something or not, you will never pay me, and you are never obligated to buy anything at any time. All I ask in return is that I represent you. I am legally obligated to represent you. That's what I do for a living. I represent clients. So all I ask in return is for your loyalty, and I will do everything else. Is that fair? No, no, we don't want a loyal realtor. We're not looking for anybody loyal. Great. Good luck. I'm not a taxi driver. I'm not an Uber driver. I'm not driving you around to look at properties for you to fantasize about properties. It's not what's happening here. So don't sweat that. You've already determined their motivation, their reason as well. So, I mean, certainly the buyer presentation is the litmus test. I mean, if they're not motivated enough to hire you, then it's not somebody that you really want to work with. All right, so Andrea, let's take one final question or volunteer for today, because I have something I want to say about tomorrow.
Okay, our final question from Darwin Lindy says, what if the person says that they already have other agents sending them properties, but are not committed to them and does not want to sign a contract and commit to anybody?
Right.
They're just looking for.
Of course, they want to sign a contract or commit because you haven't given them a reason why they would. So over the phone, you're not going to address that. Like, yeah, that's right. We know that you haven't, because there would be no reason for you to sign anything with a realtor. No realtor has given you a reason why you would sign something. So we're not addressing that over the phone. All we're going to do is we're going to book an appointment. Here's the reason for the appointment. The reason for the appointment has nothing to do with signing a contract. All it is this. I want to get together with you so I have as deep an understanding as you do as to what you're looking for. Listen, I couldn't help but notice all the other realtors that you say are sending you properties, in spite of all the properties they're sending you, you haven't found what you're looking for, which is how you saw my ad, because you're still searching on your own. So why don't we do this? We take 15 minutes, do a really good job of determining what you're actually looking for. Then I know exactly what to send you as soon as it comes on the market, so that we do a good job. And that way you have no need to look on your own to try to find properties. I will send them to you. Best part, it's absolutely free. There's no obligation whatsoever for you to ever buy anything. No one's going to force you to buy anything. No obligation at all to do that. I'm flexible. When have you got 15, 20 minutes so that we can do a really good job in determining what you're looking for and what it is that I should be sending you accurately? Days, evenings, weekends. That's a logic hammer. That's just a big fat logic. Now, what if they say, well, I don't want to sign anything? Then don't. There is no obligation for you to do anything that you don't want to do. Absolutely none. Nor is there any cost at all. Don't bring your wallet or checkbook in. No cost. When they show up, you take them to the buyer presentation, which details all of the benefits of working exclusively with you. It removes every single risk and follows with, all I ask in return is for your loyalty. Does that sound fair? Worst case scenario, yeah, no, I don't want to be loyal to you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. That's it. But guess what? The answer is, yeah, of course that makes sense. But no other realtor has given them that presentation. That's why they think, well, I don't want to sign something, because to them, signing something means obligating themselves to buy something, and they don't want to obligate themselves, or it means obligating themselves to pay a realtor a commission, because they don't understand how it works, because it's never been explained to them the way that you are going to explain it. So of course they would think that way. Anyway, I hope that helps. Now listen, before we sign off here this morning, tomorrow we're doing a very special marketing session, ad clinic session with Craig and Platinum Coach, Mr. Todd Walters. And Todd has put together a webinar tomorrow that will really, I can say, it will bring this to a much more advanced level in terms of your lead generation, and which for some of you is a challenge. So you don't want to miss tomorrow's webinar. You really don't. Same time as today. You can log on. We've registered all of you for the webinar tomorrow. But I really encourage you to come on it live. It will be very, very worth your while to do that. And I think that you're going to really get some, for lack of better terms, some aha moments and information in tomorrow's webinar. So I cannot encourage you enough to end your week on Friday with the ad clinic session with Todd and Craig. So thank you so very much for joining me today. Appreciate all your questions and role plays. Hope you found that helpful. Keep working on it. Keep getting better. And have an awesome day, everybody. Andrea, thanks so much for your help as well.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a wonderful afternoon. Talk to you all tomorrow's Marketing Clinic.